and especially in addiction and alcoholism, we carry it with us and we don't even recognize it. But we do the same format every Thursday night, so we start reading out of something from the Recovery Bible. If you guys don't have a copy of this, you can get these at Mardell's. It's an actual Recovery Bible, so it has the regular scripture, but it relates every passage in here to recovery. This is about step 5, and you can hit it anytime, Eric. We can just go. Oh, we're already on? Okay, cool. Thank you. Is the sound okay? That's the only thing I didn't check.
Yeah.
We good? Okay, good. We're back on YouTube tonight instead of Facebook. We're just having too much trouble. Okay, this has to do with escaping self-deception. Step 5, we admit it to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. We may fool ourselves into believing that we can simply bury our wrongs and go on without ever having to admit them. In time, we all discover that those deeds we thought were buried once and for all were actually seeds. They grow and bear fruit. Eventually, we have to deal with a crop of consequences and face the fact that self-deception doesn't work to our advantage. You will always harvest what you plant. Those who live only to satisfy their own sinful nature will harvest decay and death from that sinful nature. But those who live to please the Spirit will harvest everlasting life from the Spirit. That's from Galatians. If we claim we have no sin, we are only fooling ourselves and not living in the truth. But if we confess our sins to God, He is faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all wickedness. Step 5 says goodbye to self-deception and hello to forgiveness and cleansing. We should note that there is cleansing from every wrong, not from wrongdoing in a general sense. Admitting the exact nature of our wrongs includes giving our accounts in exact and specific terms. It is only when we get specific that we will no longer be able to fool ourselves about the nature of our wrongs. Since we cannot ignore God and get away with it anyway, we might as well come clean and be forgiven. Yeah, we might as well. What the heck? Might as well try to get sober. Okay, that's interesting. All right. When you think about trauma, well, let me pose the question. What do you think when you hear that word trauma? It applies to somebody else, right? I don't have trauma. Oh, no, I'm good. I don't have trauma.
That's when you're in a car wreck and spend weeks in the hospital.
Or something really dramatic, yeah. Or especially like PTSD, we think of like returning war veterans, coming back from Vietnam or, the Gulf or whatever. But the definition, the description, all that's required to have a traumatic experience is simply to have a deeply disturbing or distressing experience, or having an experience that left you overwhelming fear you could do nothing about. And that's what we're going to get into. What do you think when you hear the word fear? We think of horror movies or something, frightening, but we're going to break down those fears because that's where our trauma lies. And just like we were just reading, the more specific that we get with what our basic fears are, then we can begin to change. But until we get specific, that's why, and we're going to talk about this, we all carry a lifetime of pain. Having particular events is not what we carry with us. What we carry with us is our perception of what that event meant. Okay, and that'll make more sense as we get into it. Hence, post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, and so this is why you can have two people experience the same car wreck or the same experience, And one person is, oh man, that was a close call. Whew, man, that's, no big deal. Sure glad it's over. But then the other person is traumatized, won't get in a car for 6 months, never wants to drive again, won't take their walks around the block anymore. It just becomes this horrifying experience. It's not about the event, and I know that some of you have probably had some very horrific, say maybe abusive type experiences. Even in that, I'm not minimizing the experience, but the pain that we carry with us is in our perception of it, right? Physical wounds heal, emotional wounds stay with us. And so we spend our lifetime trying to deal with it, trying to cope with it, but in wrong ways, and that's why we're still stuck with it. And so that's what this whole topic is about. I'm going to run, there's a whole bunch of stuff on the board. I'm sorry, I was trying to squeeze a bunch of stuff in, but I'm going to explain it. And it'll make sense as we go along. And as we go through this, feel free to talk about anything that you can relate to. Here's the impact of trauma. And of course, this is this is not an all-inclusive list, but it's up to you to explore this, and it'll certainly make sense. It does fit, but few people understand trauma. Few people understand how to deal with trauma. We don't know what to do with it. So we tend to stuff it. We tend to deny it. We tend to pretend that it doesn't exist. We tend to believe that, well, we'll just get over it. Now think about this for a minute. Emotional pain, like so many other things, is stored in our memory. Okay, so you may even have had experiences where, we were talking about this recently. I forget who all was in the group, but one of the primary reasons that we have so much emotional pain that we don't know what to do with is because something we can pick up along the way, like throughout life, is that it's not okay to have that feeling. So, and I'll give you kind of some simple examples, and you guys can relate it as it applies. Maybe having an experience when you were younger, and you reached out, or you said, oh, my knee hurts, or whatever it was, and then someone, maybe a peer, maybe a coach, maybe a teacher, someone close to you said, oh, that doesn't hurt. And that's kind of a simple example, but think about what's happening in that dynamic. So at a young age, and then throughout adolescence, and then later adolescence into teenage and younger adult, the message that gets stored in the memory is, or certainly one of them is, whatever you're feeling, you're not supposed to be feeling. And so we learn how to deny what we're feeling. And so we reach adulthood, and we got two gears, right? We got depression and isolation, or we've got fear and anger. But both of those are conditions. Neither one of those is an emotion, right? Mad is an emotion. Sad is an emotion. Depression and anger are conditions. But this is this type of stuff that we develop to stay in survival mode. And so we drink and we use and we run away and we become gambleaholics, sexaholic, whatever it is, workaholics, whatever the compulsion is, trying to make it all go away. I didn't put these in any kind of order, but if any of these deserves the number one ranking, it would be the stuff it. Right? We've become masters of just stuffing it. Not that big a deal. I just need to get over it. We'll compare how we respond to life experiences to how other people respond to life experiences. And, I don't think I'm supposed to be upset about this. And we've become masters of denying what we're actually feeling. Now, just let that sink in for a minute. So it's no wonder when we arrive at early recovery and people start asking us about what we're feeling, we don't really have a clue how to answer that, right? We say things like, oh, I'm fine. Well, no, the question is How are you feeling? Oh, good. What does that even mean? Oh, I'm fine today. It's all a lie. It's all denial. We've developed a manner of living to protect our emotions. And we don't have a clue what they look like. And yet we continue to re-experience trauma, right? PTSD. So we stay in this very dysfunctional cycle. PTSD, react feelings, and nothing ever changes. And so that's why we can go through short periods of success, right? We can all muster it together and do really good for a few months, a few weeks, even a few years. But we always repeat the cycle because we never changed anything. We just get really good at like manipulating our externals, what the big book would refer to as people, places, things, and situations. We get really good at manipulating people, places, things, and situations so that I don't have to feel, or I don't have to feel bad. And it always comes back around. We cannot achieve a lasting recovery unless we're willing to heal. It's all driven by pain. All driven by pain. Two types of trauma. Simple and complex. Simple trauma is just one experience. I remember when I was 8 and I saw my best friend get run over by a bus. Complex trauma is what most people endure, and that's multiple or ongoing experiences. Okay, so think in terms of your own life, your points of pain, and there tends to be a lot of pattern to it, whether it was, could be abuse, could be physical abuse, could be any kind of abuse, it could be inadequacy. A lot of us suffer from this deep sense of inadequacy. I'm not good enough. Right? And so we can re-traumatize ourselves in that process. We judge ourselves harshly. That is a traumatic experience. So don't reject the idea that we all have pain because you never saw your best friend get run over by a bus, you never got abused, everything pretty much worked out. That's not even scratching the surface. If we don't have any pain, why are we here? This isn't where people that have no pain end up. This is where hurting people end up. I don't mean specifically like, Justin's Lighthouse, but, at this place in our life. We're carrying suitcases full. And we don't know what to do with it. So we pass it off and we go, here, I don't have it. Here, you take this. And that's what anger is about. That's what bitterness is about. That's what resentment is about. Okay, I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible because these three basic fears is where everything lies. Okay, so if trauma comes about from having an experience that leaves us overwhelming fear we could do nothing about. In fact, we even kind of touched on this when the girls were over here a couple weeks ago, I think. Well, now we're going to really get into it. What kind of fear are we talking about? It can be a material thing. It can be some sort of material experience or a practical experience. But we tend to move past that. It's like, I didn't get that job promotion. Fear of not getting something that we want or need. What do we need? What are our basic needs? And I put a few on the board just to kind of give you an idea. We all need and want unconditional love. Belonging. I'll just read the whole list. Safety, security, material things, validation, approval, affection, attention, reward, loyalty, respect, honesty. So when we're talking about a fear of not getting something that we want or need, when we perceive that this has been impacted, you will be traumatized. It doesn't mean that it's actually happening, right? It's about our perception of what's happening. So think about and a lot of this stuff can start in childhood. you try really hard on a particular subject, and you really thought you were going to get an A, but you got a B, and because of that B, you perceive that as, I'm no longer good enough. I no longer belong. I'm not approvable. I'm not validated. And remember, we're talking about complex trauma, so that little simple example doesn't sound like much. Well, multiply that by 10,000 of those experiences. And by the time we reach adulthood, we have an overwhelming sense of inadequacy. So breaking it down, let's talk about love, unconditional love. That was one that certainly applied to me. I've shared this many, many times. You grow up with siblings, and you're gonna have these battles or these perceptions that, oh, my mom loves my brother more, and I can prove it because he got a better birthday present than me, or whatever. And so we can perceive that we're conditionally loved. My mom's only in a good mood if I bring home a good grade, right? But every time I bring home a bad report card, she's no longer loving me. Well, obviously that's not true. But when you're 8, you don't know how to perceive those experiences. So, boom, another traumatic experience that we don't know what to do with. It's just there. It's just our perception. And here's the kicker. When you're a child, you don't know how to express these things. So it's not like we can have, intelligent conversations about them. Like, hey, Mom, I really felt like, when you got this, we might be crying, we might be screaming, we might be angry, but what we're not doing is we're not really discussing the real issue. We don't know how. And so it's like, there's like chinks in our armor as we grow and we have life experiences. Unconditional love, belonging. And I'll tell you some of I think the really big ones that we tend to overlook in our life is safety and security. So tying this in with PTSD, so think about this, and you can even think of an experience recently that you've had where you had some sort of experience that in that moment you felt a loss of safety or a fear of maybe not being safe or some sort of emotional security. And what happens is if you're already predisposed to that, then our reaction to it presently tends to be way out of whack. It's always out of proportion. That's PTSD, right? It's like, well, hey, would you run the dishwasher? And no, I forgot to run the dishwasher. And then the next day, okay, well, you forgot, so would you do it? And then the next day, hey, did you run the dishwasher? And all of a sudden you lose your mind. I'm so sick and tired of you talking to me about that dishwasher. It's not that important. When what's really happening is it's triggering something from the past where maybe you used to get in trouble, or you got, you got withheld food for 3 days because you forgot to unload or run the dishwasher or something. That's how PTSD works. So we're not really responding to what we're experiencing in that moment. We're reacting to a lifetime of whatever that pain is associated with. And I apologize, Eric, because I know I'm kind of moving around the board a little bit, and he's trying to keep up with me on the slide. Okay, so the second one, we're talking about these 3 basic fears. And here's another way to look at these 3 fears. These are also, and really think about this before you reject this, these are literally the only 3 things we ever get angry about. Not getting something that we want, losing something we thought we had, or getting caught for something that we did or said, which typically amounts to, like the third one, typically amounts to our humanness showing, being found out, right? And especially, in addiction and alcoholism, and, we are, it's not just that, I'll say in our overwhelming insecurities and inadequacies, we are scared to death that the world will see us the way we see us. Even though the people that love us around us are telling us, oh my gosh, man, you're so smart, you're so talented, you're so creative, you're so whatever, people love you. Blah, blah, blah. We don't see that. The sick person with trauma does not see that. And no amount of encouragement will move them into that space. And it's not humility. He's like, oh gosh, I know. No, that's not what's happening. It is an overwhelming sense of inadequacy, and the only way I can overcome inadequacy is I must prove to the world that I'm more than, right? The opposite of less than is more than, and so we live in these huge extremes. I feel less than, so I must perform more than, and since we can't do that, we just isolate. We drink, we run, we use, we disappear, we are scared to death to be found out. The world will see us the way we see us. Okay, so let me go back to the second one because that's really important. I think this one may be the bigger impact. Second fear, losing something we thought we had. Okay, so just think about in your own relationships and your own life experiences. Believing that you have unconditional love and then losing it. Believing that you have a belonging, you're a part of, say, a group or a work environment or some relationship, and then the fear of losing that. You may not even actually be losing it, you're just scared to death that you're going to lose it. Or security, belonging, loyalty, respect, honesty, approval, affection, validation, attention. That's where we get stuck. Not getting something we want or need, losing something we thought we had, or getting caught for something that we did or said. Having an embarrassing experience can be a traumatizing experience. Think about what's happening in that. When maybe you can remember the last time you felt embarrassed, your face turned red and you just want to run out of the room or whatever. Think about what's happening in that experience. You did or said something that maybe opened the door to a little window of you, and now you're horrified. Right? When it's not that big a deal, but to us, it can be everything. It's like, oh my God, I've been found out. Right? That's why we have those kind of reactions. If you haven't been embarrassed, if you haven't felt embarrassed in a really long time, that's actually a really good indicator that you're living in your identity. You're comfortable with who you are. You're okay when your humanness shows, right? You're okay when you make a mistake or you do something stupid and you can rebound, and because you're not using your persona to convince anybody else that you are something other than what you actually are. And then now we're kind of getting into identity stuff, but it all is tied together. The addiction process, and this is family group, and we got family members watching. We'll tie this in. Everybody's affected in the addiction process. We are, our families are, our friends are, all of our loved ones. But as a group, we tend to deal with it with certain traits, and one of them is to minimize it. Remember, we don't know how to handle it. We don't know what to do. Everybody's hurting. Everybody's upset, disappointed, discouraged, frustrated, anxious, unsure, unsafe, insecure. All this stuff is happening with our family, our friends, and the alcoholic. And so it's easy to just kind of minimize the chaos of it. Well, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe if this, and oh man, maybe if we can just get back to work and we just get the car fixed, and what we're doing is we're focusing on external things, right? And of course, we've talked about that ad nauseum. If we can just get the car back, the house back, some new clothes, the girl back, whatever it is, just get all my external things back together, then I'll be okay. Or then, the alcoholic addict will be okay. Even though, when you look back over our past, that's what we've done every single time. Every single time. And then we get success for just a little period of time, and then we always crash and burn. Because we never really addressed what's happening, because nobody knows how. Right? We don't know what to do with it, so we minimize it, we cover it up, we all walk around with our own resentments or bitterness or discouragement or fears. Families and friends and peers can try to solve all the external problems, but we never know how to address the internal problems. That's not a failure. That's not a breakdown. That is the natural course of human nature. Right? We see someone in distress that is uncomfortable, and it's human nature to want to make them more comfortable. But the only way we know how to do that is literally, here's a pillow, here's a blanket, let me make your bed, let me take care of this thing that causes you stress, let me take care of that thing that causes you stress. When what needs to happen is the person needs to be able to deal with how to handle stress. Right? So the entire process of addiction, and even into recovery, and it's not just addiction. Some regular people deal with this too, but we keep addressing it in a wrong way. And so what gets left behind? The pain. Nobody deals with the pain. Nobody even knows what to look for, because I feel better now. I got this back. I got this back. I got this back. I got this back, and so I feel good. But it's just a cover-up. That's why we haven't really healed. We just hang on to the new stuff for short periods of time. This is the impact. I put on the board impact on families, but it's the impact on everybody. Extreme emotions, right? The highs, the lows, the uncertainties. We've tried this thing and we thought that would work, and now we're confused because it was working, but now it's not working, and blame self. People say, "Oh my God, it must be my fault." I think parents, especially. Well, I know for a fact, because my mom, to the day she died, or maybe up to about the week before she died, would say over and over and over again, "It's my fault," when my little brother died from a drug overdose. And you know what she also used to say? "I wish I'd said no more often. I wish I'd told him no. No, no, no." She did the same thing. We did the same thing as a family. Got to get him a new apartment, got to get him a new car, help him get a job, get him some new clothes, and we could prop him up for a short period of time. But nobody knew what to do about the trauma. And that's what happens. It doesn't change. We're not going to suddenly be the one guy that figures out how to live a successful life and maintain our level of pain. We replay the pain over and over again. Those of you that, still have a lot of, maybe some old pain that you recognize, that it's still haunting you. You may see images of that over and over and over again. We replay it over and over and over again. It could be 30 years old. It could be 20 years old. Even though you haven't had that experience in however long, remember, it's stored in your memory. And so anytime that you have any kind of association present day, it just pulls it right out of that file cabinet. You can be having a wonderful day, and then boom. Having a wonderful day can be a trigger. If you're not used to having wonderful days in a very consistent manner, that is a trigger. Because now all of a sudden, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Oh God, wait a minute, this feels too normal. I'm not comfortable here. That's PTSD. So you don't have to have anything dramatic happening in your day to be experiencing this. But recognize the indicators. It's like, in recovery, it's like, use your feelings as your check engine light. Your feelings is just your red flag. Do the next right thing regardless of your feelings. And those are nice things and they're true, but we're really not sure what to do with it. But you got to start changing the way you respond to it. When you're feeling anxious, it's because there's something undone within yourself, right? There's something incomplete within yourself. And I'll save the rest of that for the anxiety lecture, but this is, you ever thought you were going crazy? You want to share something?
No.
Yeah,
Sorry.
please. You're
No.
good. Okay. I know maybe you guys don't, but it's certainly a common characteristic when you're dealing with a crisis situation and it's not going, whether it involves another person or not, and it's not going the way that you want it to go, or maybe the way you perceive your own life challenges, and it's a struggle, and we can feel like we're going crazy. What's wrong with me? There's something inherently wrong with me, which is where that inadequacy lies. I think that's one of the number one characteristics of all addicts and alcoholics. We have this deep-rooted sense that no matter what, we're just not enough. Right? Not good enough, smart enough, fast enough. And that's why, you have a conversation with us, we'll project the opposite of that. Right? We want people to think that we're the smartest person in the room, that we got it all together, and that's not what's happening inside. It's that shameful, shameless dynamic. That is all driven by trauma. Stop enjoying life. We feel unsafe even when we are safe. Right? We may not even be able to make the distinction. Shut down emotionally and believe that talking about it, meaning our pain, would be a betrayal to someone else. And I'll tell you what that looks like, or one of the ways it can look like, and I've seen it a million times. Oh no, I don't have any pain, nothing to see here. Right? I had the perfect childhood, perfect family, perfect, nothing to see. Which makes the point. Because in order to healing isn't about anybody else. And when we use that verbiage, it shows that's what we're thinking, that my pain really is somebody else's fault. And in order for me to get better, I'm going to have to throw them under the bus. And since I don't want to betray anybody, I'm just going to pretend like I don't have pain. And we will stay sick with that thinking. Recovery is the time where we start to separate other people, places, things, and situations. Let them be them. Stop blaming, stop looking, stop searching, stop whatever. And start for the first time exploring our side of the street. Our pain, our fears, our losses, our insecurities, our inadequacies. Because remember, trauma is about our perception of what is happening. My mom could have bought me the best birthday present than any of my brothers for the next 20 years, and it wouldn't have healed my pain. The solution is not outside of us. It is inside of us. But we have to get honest about it. And so many of us, that's why there's an Alcoholics Anonymous. That's why there's a big book. That's why, the recovery industry is just exploding, because so many people are lost. But the solution is the same. We got to quit looking on the other side of the street.
Miles, I do have something to share.
Please.
I think this is on the same thing. Like I've been doing inventory, and
Nice.
I put down, okay, why my mom didn't come looking for me, yet my resentment was, why she didn't come looking for me when I ran away at 14 pregnant. And I thought, because my mom, in my mind, I want to put her on the pedestal, she's a perfect mother. Yet there's so many areas I have questions like, but I don't want to betray her.
Yeah.
But I put it out there, and my perception, I realized all of a sudden it just came clear as a bell. It was so clear. I played her role. There was other questions why Mom never left and stayed on, my dad, because he's abusive. But Dad's my hero. That's another story. However, I left for her. I discovered that. I don't know if that makes sense
Wow.
to you, but I played her role. She didn't come looking for her because I escaped for her. And I can let her off the hook and get healing myself. Sometimes it's just letting them off the hook because sometimes our perception is totally wrong.
Well, yeah.
But yet she should have
Exactly.
come looking, but yet...
It would have been nice
okay.
if Mom had come looking, and as a mother, maybe that's something that you would do. How did you perceive that then? Why wasn't she coming looking for you?
Because I wasn't important, or I was one. I don't know.
You weren't
she
worth
never
it.
did come looking for me.
You didn't have any value. You weren't
Trauma
worth
was
it.
happening.
Yeah.
And I still wonder about that. There's a lot more to go through.
Well, that's a great example. Of a very painful experience. So what's, we can use this to kind of scoot on over to the solution part of this. So what was actually happening? What was actually happening is, and you can fill in the blanks, okay, you're a 14-year-old and now pregnant. Okay, so there's obviously...
Told her
there's
what
already
was
stuff
gonna
going
happen.
on up
she
to that.
She said, you're going to have an abortion in the morning, and I ran away that night. It's like she gave me permission. I'm thinking now, because why would she tell me that and then let me go to bed and not watch and worry about what's going to happen?
So
Because I first said, you can't say that because you're a Church of Christ. Religion came into it and everything. You don't believe in abortion, And because I told her, straight up, you better sit down. And she said, you better sit down. I'm a child. And I thought I was grown.
yeah,
And
yeah. So at
because
14,
my parents had rules, you know what I mean? It was, the boundaries weren't clear, but I knew if I violated that boundary without being told, you're gonna get your ass whooped.
but you weren't always
It's
sure
like-
what those boundaries were.
No. I learned in prison what boundaries were.
So
New life behavior.
at 14, you made a decision to protect your child,
Yes.
and you got all this other junk. Mom didn't come
But I
after
came
you
back
for
and I
whatever
abandoned her
reason.
with her then.
You did.
Yeah.
Because
No, Mandy's going through the
because you're 14 years old. Can you not it's not about letting people off the hook, but are you forgivable?
Me?
Is it okay that you've made a whole bunch of mistakes?
Yeah. It is. I'm loved. I know that. And I'm learning to love myself.
Yeah.
I don't know how to take it because I'm losing my sense of humor or something. I'm really strict with people, and I'm going through some stuff.
Yeah.
But my age, it's awesome. It's different to think different, So yeah, healing's going. There's a lot of trauma, a lot. Y'all saw the car wreck 30 years ago. I had the car wreck. I had the life that was lost there.
Yeah.
I had the other guy live, But no matter what you do, you want to do restitution. You want to get their approval, But sometimes that approval doesn't come. But it's okay. It's like the steps. We still got to take them.
So your daughter's not doing so good now.
She's going to California the first to the rehab.
And is that something
The
you
oldest
beat
one,
yourself
the one
up?
Huh?
You beat yourself up about that?
They have. They beat me up. My leg's been broken.
Oh, literally.
My family, not my kids, but my child. She was there and seen it. It didn't help. And yeah, literally.
Wow.
At every holiday, it seems like I was attacked somehow. I don't tell anybody that.
So you'll keep yourself stuck in that cycle, trying to figure out the whys of all those things. why did this happen? Why did this happen? If I could only understand why this happened, and oh gosh, I need more understanding on this. It's time to just let it be.
Yeah.
So that you can, let people, places, things, and situations be what they are, whatever that is, whatever we think they are. We don't really know. I don't know what other people are thinking, although I used to think I could read everybody. I know
That's
why
where
you're
my
doing
fear
that.
comes,
And
from the unknown.
yeah.
And I've been invited to the Easter thing, and where I got my leg broke. I don't think that's a good idea.
That's some messed up stuff.
Isn't it?
Yeah. But you get to make different decisions today.
Yes.
The unknown, that's the spiritual part. It's good. That's a good place to be. The unknown. The unknown. I heard a guy I listened to a lot. He said, if you're not living in a manner that if God doesn't come through, you're just not going to make it, you're not really living. And that's a tough place to be out there on that limb. But it's good. It'll strengthen your faith. Okay, so I think that maybe there's a couple more. We're getting close to 8, but yeah, I want to go through as many of these as possible because it something's going to click. If nothing's clicked with you now or yet, something always clicks where you can, you really tap into. Wow. You can see yourself in a different way. You recognize something. These are the characteristics, and this is what I was going to say earlier about, recovery is about learning how to be self-aware. We've been so disconnected. We're so self-centered and so unaware. We don't have a clue who we really are. We know we've developed these multiple identities to be whoever we think we need to be for any given situation. But to answer the question, well, who are you really? We really don't know. So this is how we begin to move through that. Recognize when you're anxious, it's not because of the experience that you're having. You're anxious is because how you're perceiving that experience, because you're scared to death you're not going to get something or that you're losing something. And if you could just control that, you wouldn't have to feel that. Which is like the big book refers to that as a life driven, by self-propulsion. So recognize these things. Ongoing high anxiety is the anxiety. I'm not discounting anxiety. I know there absolutely can be an organic thing happening in the brain. That's not typically what's actually happening. I've worked with people over the years that are on 12 different anxiety medications. I say, well, how long have you been on those medications? Oh gosh, my whole life. But you still have anxiety. Anxiety, so much of our anxiety, let me just phrase it like this, so much of our anxiety is a situational perception. We're not really losing control of something, but when you're filled with anxiety, inadequacies and insecurities and all these impulsivities and all this pain, and so we need instant gratification all the time because it gives us a sense of control, which is the delusion, but that's what we're after. But the more we learn how to, like the big book we refer to as accept our situation exactly the way it is and revert our focus back to a personal responsibility, then it's okay that this person hasn't called me back yet. They'll call me back when they call me back. I've done what I can. I need to be working on this. But when we get anxious, it just freezes us in our tracks. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I can't move until this other thing happens. That's not organic. That's I don't really know how to live issue. And so let these be red flags. These are our check engine lights now moving forward. If I've got ongoing anxiety, it's because my perception of myself and the world is flawed, so I need to do something about it. We feel disconnected. We feel angry or resentful or bitter regularly. We pretend everything is great when of course it's not. Oh, everything's wonderful, everything's fine. Never allowing ourselves to connect like on a human level. It's actually okay when someone asks us how we're doing. It's actually okay to say, I don't feel good today. And I'm not talking about, dumping all your burdens on the clerk at 7-Eleven, but, within our appropriate relationships, what's going on with us that we always need everybody else to think we're doing great? Well, that's the cover-up. We're scared to death that our humanness will show. Self-defeating behaviors is kind of the obvious, and then searching for the whys. There was something else I was going to say on that. Okay, I lost my thought on that one. Okay, all right, we've covered this. Pain and your response is stored in the memory, but let me elaborate on that for a minute. Do you recognize sometimes how you recognize it as a simple experience, it's not that big a deal, but then you kind of catch yourself later like, oh my God, I can't believe I got so angry over that stupid little thing. Don't just move through those experiences, pay attention to them, because that's how you begin to tap in. So much of our reaction today is driven by some old trauma, right? So, last time the girls were here, you were talking about the whole water on the sink thing. I've been thinking about that a lot, right? Okay, so I'm going to use that as an example. Okay, so, one person has a serious problem with people, say, washing their hands and then kind of leaving water splashes around the sink, right? And then shared that was driven by, this military father who, anything less than perfection not only wasn't acceptable, but would be punished. So this poor girl grows up with this overwhelming fear of any kind of imperfection. So then fast forward to, being a part of a group and, having to share some facilities and stuff. And, water on the sink is just not that big a deal. But to her, it was literally everything. That's what PTSD looks like. And so, in other people, it could be the opposite experience. So when we're dealing with each other, who all bring a whole bunch of trauma to the table, we've got to be really sensitive about it. But those are good opportunities to pay attention to how we're responding. And I think the response. I'm not trying to be. I'm literally just. I'm trying to use this as a healthy example, but I think the response was, I'm just respecting the next person. But that's the lie that we tell ourselves. I'm doing it for someone else. Because if it was really a respect issue, we'd be dealing with the water on the sink in an entirely different way, right? It's not about, I'm respecting the next person, but not the person before me. See, it's not a respect issue. It's a trauma issue. Scared to death that if there's any imperfection in my life, I'm going to get in severe trouble. And that was an experience I think she shared, probably 30, 40 years ago. So, and I'm just throwing that out there, for everybody to look at. It doesn't just go away. It has worked its way in to the way we carry ourselves today. And so, in order to break through it and to be willing to heal from it, we got to kind of chip away at it. And the way you do that is paying attention. If you're, here we go, another AA quote. If you're irritable, restless, and discontent, there's something going on with you. Not with somebody else, not with something else. If I'm irritable, restless, and discontent, it's my position. What's really happening, what's really going on with me that I can't handle water on the sink, or whatever, whatever it is. The trash bag that's not tied all the way, or, we can... The most difficult thing about a group environment also becomes the most it's the strongest vehicle for change, because it forces us, if we're willing, it forces us to face those issues. Yeah, you help her.
Excuse me.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Letters all the time.
Okay. Yeah, so let's finish out the solution real quick. I know we're getting a little bit over, but the getting honest part, every solution in recovery starts with getting honest with ourselves. But we don't, it takes a while before we even understand what that means. Getting honest with ourselves about ourselves. Oh, I am honest with myself. We can't even begin to understand what that means. Because we've been in self-delusion for so long. Remember over here, we don't even recognize it. We pretend pain isn't that bad. We pretend our chaos isn't that bad. I remember someone telling me in my early recovery experience, I was doing the same thing, oh, it's not that bad. And somebody got right up in my face and said, Miles, you're dying. You are dying. And you think the most important topic of the day is that you can't make a phone call. And you're going to be dead in a month. And I was like, I needed to hear that. That was good for me. I was like, oh my God, because it finally started waking me up. And I know some of you guys can relate to that. We have a lifetime of minimizing the seriousness of our condition, of our circumstance, our disposition. We don't know because we've been in survival mode for so long. So it takes time to start chipping away and learning how to see our pain from a new perspective. It doesn't really have anything to do with the other person. It has everything to do with how we've perceived it. And of course, you're going to have different perceptions based on what's going on with you at that time. Maybe you had one experience where you lost a job and it worked out good and you don't think anything of it. Maybe you had another experience where you loved that job or you fought really hard for it and you thought you did good and you got fired unjustly and now you're bitter and resentful. Different experiences, but we have to learn to see all of it from our point of pain. So what did you lose in that job when you lost that job? I lost money. Yeah, but remember, that's the big stuff we tend to move past. I lost, validation, right? And when you get fired or you get, something disappointing happens, that's the first thing we think of is these people are no longer loving me. Right? I don't belong anymore. I'm less than. And it just builds and builds and builds. I already talked about the separation. This whole why thing is so important. Of course, we covered that too. Stop trying to understand the why of the situations, because that's what just keeps us going round and round and round. Well, if I could just understand why my mom would think that thing when she did that thing. If I could just understand why my ex-wife did it that way, we're never going to get there. That keeps us in this cycle of illusion, right? There's nothing wrong with me, but if I could just figure out what's wrong with you, then I'll be okay and we'll never make it. Am I losing you?
No, I was just.
What are you thinking?
I don't want to spoil the surprise if you're planning on saying something. But
no, go for it.
Tell him why you got your brother always got a better present than you.
Okay, well
you tell him from the kid's point of view.
Yeah.
That your mom loved your brother better.
Okay, that's good. When we're talking about learning a new perspective,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so, and Rhonda's heard this story dozens of times. I'm not like, I don't have a photographic memory. It's not like I got to come up with like 5 analogies for 300 different topics, and I just got to reuse them. So you're going to hear the same.
Right.
If you hang out here long enough, you're just going to hear
good.
the same stuff over and over. Yeah, okay, so I was a middle child. It was my younger brother who died at the age of 29. But like when we were kids, I always felt like a middle child. That was a label I put on myself. I remember being 10 and like using that terminology. I'm just the middle child. Nobody's walking around my household talking about, Miles is the middle child. But we buy into things, we think things, we talk to our friends talk about their whatever stuff, and so we start developing our manner of thinking, and it always has a flavor of injustice. You only think about that, you can test that. So much of our childhood perceptions can be developed around this idea that I'm always a victim of some injustice. And so I got this older brother, and we're pretty close in age, and he would always get a better birthday present than me. Or at least, it was obviously more expensive. Like, I would get drumsticks for my birthday, and he would get, a new stereo and a trampoline all on the same birthday kind of thing. And as I got older, anyway, fast forward. So I grew up very bitter, really absolutely believing, my older brother, he was mama's favorite and all this stuff, and having a lot of resentments about it, and toward my mom. I know it drove a lot of my own addiction. And but then fast forward to my own early recovery, and now I have to start looking at this and getting honest about myself, and learning how to see it in a new perspective. What I came to recognize was my birthday always fell right after Christmas, like 3 weeks after Christmas. And my mom was a single mom, so we would have a great Christmas, and then it was my birthday. She just didn't have any money. And my brother's birthday was always right in tax season. So she would have her tax refund, and she'd go get him something cool. And I remember one of my mentors asking me, well, how was your Christmas? Oh, Christmas was awesome. I got, a new bicycle and walkie-talkies, and it's just a perception thing. Did I really believe my mom loved me conditionally? Yes, I did. Is that true? No. But what is truth? I'm just a child growing up, having life experiences, interpreting those experiences in unhealthy ways. And so as an adult, we have this overwhelming sense of inadequacy. There must be something wrong with me, because if there wasn't anything wrong with me, I would already be, whatever, at some certain level, and I would have already finished this, and I would have completed that, and we do it to ourselves. It doesn't, and that's why trying to figure out what's going on with the other person not only is not helpful, it's counterproductive. It keeps us completely off track from where the real situation lies. It has nothing to do with another person, place, thing, or situation. You always make me tell some story. You probably got to.
They were very impactful.
Well, good.
So,
okay, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the girls will hear me say something, and I'll say, well, my mentor used to say, and I just said that, can you remember what it was? Oh, I said it in class when I was at my PRSS class. Was talking about, it was talking about taking care of ourselves first.
Yeah.
And I said, I have a mentor that used to say, you gotta put the air mask on you first, so you can put it on your child. Stuff. So a lot of stuff that I learned here,
That's awesome.
It's really stuck with me.
I'm glad you're doing that training. When's it over?
Yes. Oh, it's 16 weeks.
Oh, that's right. They totally changed it.
Yeah. But that's okay.
Do you still have to do the oral also?
At the end.
Yeah, cool.
What's required to be able to take that test?
Take the course.
Yeah, of course.
You got to be in
You just
recovery.
have to go and register and sign up.
A high school diploma and lived experience.
They didn't let me do any of that.
Are you serious?
Now, when I go at the end to do the stuff, maybe. But I went to Ocarta, and it's free, and yeah.
Wow.
And what all does this, what all does that certify you for?
It's a peer support.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Certified peer recovery support specialist. And what that means is, something that the recovery communities figured out years ago, that people with lived addiction or mental health experience can have a much bigger impact on a patient than, you know, the MD who's never, whatever, smoked
That's
pot.
like Stephen Furtick, you know. I don't know if y'all know him. He's amazing. But
Yeah.
one of his whole things is called a whole. I ordered it.
Yeah.
And he's amazing. He says, "Me too."
Yeah.
She's like, "We need validation. We need somebody to say." Like his little funny thing was, "You mean you ate a whole bag of Doritos all by yourself?" Me too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, "You mean you yelled at your kids this morning before church on the way to church?" Me too.
Yeah.
You know, that's amazing because we just need somebody to say, "Hey, you know what? I know you may have done this or that, but you're not the only one. I experienced the same thing, and this is how I got through that." You know, you listen to somebody. You have, you know, it's like, I don't know. But the certification, like the PEZ, I forgot what
It made it very easy.
yeah, it's like, okay, maybe I'm not so bad. I'm not the only one. You know what I mean? There's other people that have the same experiences, and they're not so bad. And look at them. They're members of society. You know, functioning members of society, and they've healed, and so maybe I can too. So
Absolutely.
But like at Landmark, they're the PEZ people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
It's
No,
become.
You don't even have to be PRSS to be PES.
Really? Well, I'm going to Ocarta.
It's, it's become such a significant role that insurance companies now recognize it as a billable position. So, like clinical centers they're hiring them right and left. You're basically the liaison between the patient and the
Yeah,
therapist.
the PEZ,
Yeah.
personal. I don't forgot what it means.
Yeah. What's the PEZ over there at Landmark?
I don't know.
You're not familiar with that? Yeah.
I can't remember what it is, but they're
Yeah.
the people that are recovering addicts.
Yeah.
That have enough experience, whatever, been sober long enough to they facilitate the place. Like they're the ones.
Yeah.
It's like a CNA as opposed to an RN.
Right.
They had the hands-on with us. you know,
Absolutely.
every day, all day.
What about Lisa? What's her?
She's a PEZ.
Yeah.
That's
one of
how I
our
know
roommates.
you don't
Okay.
have to have that.
Yeah. So you don't actually have to have the certification to do this role at Landmark.
But it helps.
Yeah.
Greatly.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to help in the pay too. Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
I don't
But-
know about that, but I know it takes 16 weeks to do the certification. So are you going to wait 16
Yeah, that's
weeks
wild.
Yes, ma'am.
before you go to work?
And are they
Oh,
still
no.
are they
No.
still
Okay. Well, if you're
verifying
on
like
PES,
length of
don't
sobriety?
Go. Landmark and get a job.
Woo, woo, you know what I mean? 16 weeks as opposed to the rest of my life.
It used to be 1 week.
Oh, really?
They just crammed 40 hours into 1 week.
Well, it's like my CNA. I was a 2-week course, crash course. To
Yeah,
get
same
license.
kind of deal.
But anyway, yeah, they teach you. It's another tool I can put in my toolbox. You know what I'm saying, to help learn how to heal. You know, because I have all the ABCs. You know what I'm saying? And,
Yeah.
And I'm 41. I've got the T-shirt. I've got the scars, and
Yeah.
I've got the bruises, and I've got the damage. And it's like, man, I'm tired of going around the same old mountain like the Israelites did for 40 years. I don't know how long it actually took to get there, but it took them 40 years.
do
I'm
something
41.
different.
I'm ready. I'm sick of hurting, and there's a hurting world out there, you know. And I could be like, me too, you know.
Just remember that wanting it is not enough.
No,
We gotta learn the specifics and then practice that.
yeah,
And man, if all it took was motivation, we wouldn't even be here.
yeah. And I have
You
so
know,
much anxiety. it's
Nobody
like-
wants to be a drunk. Nobody
No.
wants, oh, I just love it when I lose all my stuff.
Yeah.
We want to be better, but we have to be, obedient. We
Yeah.
have to learn how to live.
Yeah. Just in a normal, everyday life. Being
Yeah.
able to get up in the morning, same time, every day, be grateful, in a good mood, because I choose to be, no matter what my situation is. Go in there, have my things put away and eat so I can find shit, and and then be ready on time every day, be responsible, dependable, and, it's like my life has been so chaotic. The simple things that people do every day is so hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because my mom, and I'm not kidding you, I was only child, and I was so spoiled. As a 7-year-old, my mother would roll me in bed to dress me for school. But she hurt me, but she was loving me, and she didn't know any other way. And so, I had my own bed, my own room, so full of toys and shit you couldn't walk. But I slept in between my mom and daddy every night, you know. And my daddy told his mother-in-law, but my grandma and uncles and aunts and everybody one day, he come over there and said, look, if April wants to pull her britches down and shit in the middle of the room, you better back up and watch her do it. I mean, you know, and I was so lonely as a child, and my peers hated me.
Wow.
And I was so ostracized by everyone. Even the school teacher forgot me numerous times. You know, it was snow outside, and I'm in a tunnel by myself, and they didn't even notice I was gone. And you know, it just seems like I keep having those experiences, like you said, repeated trauma, being unaccepted by the world, and it's like, but I love you. Why can't you love me back? And I'm so lonely. Loneliness is a major thing, and I'm not trying to take.
No, keep going.
But I know that God is real. He loves me, and Jesus did die on the cross for me. And I know that people, you know, it applies to everyone else. But I keep feeling like, God, am I really saved? When you come back, am I really going? I'm not worthy. I'm unaccepted. But everyone else is, but I'm really not. And so I've always questioned my salvation. But God in rehab really I can't remember where it's at because I'm bacon burnt. But I know it's in there, and I can't remember where. But I had an aha moment. It's like God showed me in His Word that I love you. And basically, it's like I died on that cross for you. And all the shit that you've done, your failures, your shortcomings, I knew where you were at. I seen you in the middle of your filth, and I reached out and grabbed you up and held you, called you by name, and I formed your inward parts, and you created in Christ's image me that applies to me. And so I just had a moment of just feeling just so loved. But yet, and still, even though I had that experience, I continue to have moments and feeling like I'm not good enough, or feeling like, God, I can't figure this out, and something wrong with me. I know Miss Rhonda knows I'm constantly screwing up, and I'm constantly trying to find my way and adjust to the rules and the regulations, and I just keep feeling like I'm not good enough, not good. That's the trauma. Even though I know that I am loved and accepted, but I still feel like, God, I just keep screwing up. I can't get this right. I can't get it done in time. I keep forgetting. I can't, blah, blah, blah.
She's only been there for 3 days. She should have it down by now.
Right.
Really, aren't you doing everything right?
Yeah,
You're not.
so
It's gonna take
ready.
you a long time.
I'm so done with the drugs,
Yeah.
but I'm so ready to live.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of having to have my hand out like I have to ask for everything. I don't have $5 to my name to even get a bag of Levi Garrett.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah, but I hate that. It's like, God help me. I want to go to work. I want to do this and that so that I can help others. Because I know there's a hurting world out there.
But let it play out.
Yeah, that's why I've got to slow down.
Yeah.
And my ADHD's like right now, I'm getting out, it's like I need medication.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, I need Jesus. He's enough. He is enough. It's like I'm faithful and just to complete that good work that I began in you, and I'm like in Song of Solomon. No,
But you gotta slow down and let Him.
Yeah, I gotta let Him. I gotta trust the process, not rush the process.
Yeah.
I know all this stuff, but yet I'm just here.
But yet,
I'm just here.
hey, you're gonna get this thing. Just don't quit.
Yeah. Thank you. I thank God for this place. I told her when I would go pee, I was like, God, He's reading my mail. He's been watching me, It's like, God is always on time, It's like, this is exactly what I'm struggling with. Obviously, we all are because we're here. But it's like, you're coming at it from a Christian standpoint, and it's like, man, thank God, because I don't want to do things the way the world does.
Yeah.
I want to do things the way He does. Yeah. And and I'm overwhelmed too by God's love. It's like, here I am. It's like I feel accepted, and I feel loved. Just her bringing me this Snuggie. This is amazing. This is like, oh my God, this is wonderful. But it's like, I feel acceptance, and I'm thankful. I thank you guys for letting me talk. I think I'm exposing, like he was talking about, my humanity.
Yeah.
I feel exposed. I feel,
Yeah.
whatever. But at the same time, I feel safe. doing that. I don't feel like everybody's secretly talking about, look at this girl. She thinks
Right.
she's this and that. She wants the limelight. Or she, look at her, her hair looks funny, or her nose is big, or, I've got the double chin. Those are the negative
Yeah.
things that are going on in my mind.
Yeah.
But it's like, I got to pick and choose. That is a lie. That is a lie. What does the word say? What does the word say? And it's like, it's okay because, even if you were, I'm still going to do and be the way I am because I can't help but be that way. You know what I'm saying? It's like even God has such a drive in me to just, it's like, God, why do you make me so weird? Why do you make me so obnoxious and loud and passionate? I'm like, look at me. It's like, and I'm sober. And I've told them all there, the more sober, she's like, oh, here she goes. The more sober I get, the more passionate and ramped up I get. But people think I'm high, and it's like, I'm so sober. You have no idea. You know what I'm saying? But God made me that way. I feel like John the Baptist. And you know what? It's something straight. There's life and death in the tongue. I prayed my whole young adult life, or whatever. My 20s or whatever. When I actually had some brains. My prayer was, God, because I wanted to do His work, and I have a heart for God, really. And it's like, God, give me the spirit of John the Baptist. Help me to be not afraid to do whatever it is you lay before me with boldness. And then I thought, oh God, be careful what you ask for, because no, God, I don't want it. I feel like Jonah in the whale. It's like, no, I'm not doing it. But that's what I asked for. That's exactly what I asked for, because but my intent, my heart is, what's behind it is to please God. And I know that. And I know that that's why He's been so generous to me and saved me and reached down in the pit and then said, no, she's mine. No, that's mine. You can't have her. Mm-hmm. He has split the Red Sea for me so many times. And I think, God, why? And it's because He knows my heart. And my true prayer, it has been, give me that spirit of John the Baptist, that even though the world may look at me and may ostracize me, by the grace of God go I. You know what I'm saying? Because I asked Him to be not afraid, to be that wild man eating, bugs and honey and shit. But why did He do that? Because there's a hurting world, and He knows that, and He said, repent. You know what I mean? It's just, but I don't know if that's my message, but it's to be not afraid, to go out and to be unique, to be different, to be loud, to be boisterous, to be not like the world.
Can you allow yourself to be a follower right now?
To be a follower of, I don't, that when you say that word, it makes me feel kind of like, okay, but what do you want me to follow? You know what I'm saying? It's
Process
like
of recovery.
Huh?
A process of recovery.
That, I don't know how to answer that. I don't know what the right, yes, by all means, because my best thinking got me landed in recovery, got me landed at Landmark, got me here. And I'm grateful because I'm learning good stuff. This is what the world needs, is a map or need God. We need God. And this is biblical. This is out of the Bible. I mean, this is amazing. And I forgot, I'm brain dead words to say. But the answer to your question is yes. I will, what is it says in the Bible? I will pick up whatever and follow you. What is it?
Cross.
Pick up a cross. And that means to die to flesh. Every day, I got to pick up my cross and follow Him. And so, yes, by all means, I'm here with a willing spirit.
So that means when you're going 150 miles an hour,
yeah,
trying to get everything just perfect,
mm-hmm.
that's you playing God.
Oh, you're right. Trying to do things my way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's once again my best thinking.
Yeah.
I need to let go and let God get out of His way.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, then I think, what is His way? And, it's like, God, just write it down on a piece of paper so I can see exactly, so I can follow
Exactly.
the right steps. Just show me vividly the exact thing to do, and I'll do it. But what is it, God? You know what I'm saying? Exactly one foot in front of the other. Like right now I'm thinking, God, I need to shut up and stop talking.
But here's the thing, and this is classic addict thinking. He's already given you that, but you're wanting to add. You want more and more and more, and He's saying, this is what I want you to do now. Just do this, I'll let you know.
Yeah, like
just do
sit
this,
here
I'll
and
let you
listen
know.
and absorb. So
But we're always wanting to add something or subtract something. Oh
Yeah.
man, this would be so cool if only we could just, or this would have been really fun if we didn't have to. And you're going through your day and you're just like, oh man, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, and you're missing the thing.
Stop and smell the roses
Mm-hmm.
type of thing. Okay.
Yeah, if we made a list of all the goofy cliches just in life and in recovery, I mean, there's a bunch of them, but if we actually applied them, we'd have a whole different life.
Yeah, that's it.
They're corny and we grew up listening to them and all that stuff, but they're there for a reason. And that's a good let go and let God. Go with that one. Yeah, stick that one.
Yeah, that was way.
Well, I appreciate you sharing. You really did put yourself out there. That's
Oh yeah, thank you.
that's not easy to do.
No, it's
in early
not.
recovery.
No, it's not. It's scary. It's really scary.
Well, we wish you well. I'm assuming you clicked it off a long time ago.
Probably.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
it had nothing to do with you. We just
no.